Good evening from East Texas, for the Honey Badger, coming at you on this Tuesday evening. Uh, Today is the episode number 16 of Let Us Attend from Gospel of Violence podcast, and today we're going to have a very special guest. Uh, some of you who have not met our special guest in person, I'm going to put out a fair warning. Uh, he is intense in a good way. I'm gonna tell the story about how we met and all that stuff once we get him on screen, and we'll start talking about the topic. The topic today will be holsters, concealed carry, and whatever else we're gonna go with this guy. But first, let me get a couple of things out of the way. And today's sponsors, just like they have been for a while now. First and foremost is Ammo Supply Warehouse. Good people, people who train, people who offer all kinds of goodies for those who are in this field of learning, training, practicing, and being ready. So, AmmoSupplyWarehouse.com, pretty damn easy to find. Um, and of course, for the Honey Badger body sprays, you can also find the two that are available now on my website. And today we will be responding to your comments if they are about the topic. Others will be overlooked. So we'll go from there. Good evening to all of you who are present and those of you who will show up here in the near future, God willing. We'll say hello when you show up. So, a few things. Um, let's see here. So, here's our first sponsor, AmmoSupplyWarehouse.com, for the purveyors of fine freedom seeds. And of course, as I was saying, that we're going to have a very special guest today. Today's special guest is none other than Mr. Christian Green of Green Force Tactical, who's joining us on the screen. And he already, since I last seen him a few minutes ago, he does have a different appearance already. Just, kind of, it's Chris. You never know what's coming. You never know what's going to happen. Uh, Hello,
It
Chris.
was the
Good evening.
music. The music
Yes.
made me your hold music, the wrinkly dinkly like hippy dippy supercalifragilistic bingy balladocious. I felt like it was really Asian, so the hat went with it. The
Okay.
other thing was I want to thank you for referring to me as special no less than 6 times in the introduction. So people should really know that's more of a short bust than like a unique and obvious specimen.
Yes. Well, so here is the story about me meeting Christian. Right. So I had this idea of the holster. The first version, the Berkut one, was being produced by a different company. It had some features that I wanted, but it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. And I've been talking to so many different holster makers all over the country in many, many ways. And as I have done many years, I went to the alumni weekend in Camden, Tennessee, to Tactical Response Alumni Weekend with God
Our
rest his
people.
soul, James Yeager, and so I think it was the first day of the 2 day alumni weekend. I did what I did there at the plumbing supply warehouse, where the tactical response is located was located as far as their base. And then I'm like, what? I'm gonna take a drive to the range and see what's going on there. So I park my car. I'm walking, and I hear this voice, like very animated, like talking about something. I'm still not getting what he's talking about, and I see this tent with
I brought
bunch
a
of
cat.
people with bunch of people gathered around, and as I'm getting closer, I hear all kinds of shit that's way over my head as far as like geometry, technicalities, angulation, the pressure points and gradients and all that stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So then I look over and I see that face right there,
I should point
Chris.
out at the time I had a cartoon villain mustache.
Yes, you did. And so I started listening for a few minutes, and pretty much within a few minutes, although 80% of what he was talking about, as I said, it went. Here's the sound that I'm gonna make. It sounded like this in my brain.
I hear that a
That's
lot.
that's what it sounded in my brain. So anyway,
The fact
but
that you have sound effects is awesome. Sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
but
I'm sorry.
I understood enough to I go like, all right, so this guy is making holsters, and he definitely is very passionate about what he does, and it sounds like like I'm somewhat of a fanatic of my craft, and I like seeing people fanatical about what they do. They don't hold back. They're not halfway in it. They're not like, yeah, I'm gonna try this shit, see if I can make a couple bucks, and we'll go from there. So
Commercial success was never an option.
long story short, by the end of that weekend, that alumni weekend at Camden, me and Chris had a few conversations. We kicked some people out of the one of the rooms there at Tactical Response, and
We literally kicked people out of the room.
yes, we literally told them
I
leave.
don't know you. Leave.
Yes, and
Remember, Mookie went around and just like threw motherfuckers out of the room. I don't know you. I don't like you. Out. I don't know you.
yeah,
Out.
yeah,
That was
and
awesome. I forgot about that.
and then we had conversation, and then we talked about technicalities. We talked about things, and fast
I
forward
learned
a
some
little
shit.
bit.
That was the thing. The
We
conversation. It was very rare for me at that point in my journey to have real conversations with people where I learned stuff about what I did. So that was the most fascinating thing for me. I didn't have a fucking clue who you were, like in the world. You were just a crazy Russian dude that was speaking my language and showing me stuff about body posture and the draw stroke that I instinctually knew from being a cop and watching people and doing stuff with people on the street. I was already keyed into that, subconsciously, but I'd never had it explained to me what I was seeing about people's body positions in the
yeah.
pre-draw stroke. So that little conversation we had in John Willis's parking lot when the goats were loose and we were having to dodge shit, that was a very valuable conversation for me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, so that's how it started, as I said, and fast forward, I don't know how many years it is now, quite a few years, and
9, I looked it up.
and Christian here in Green Force Tactical are still making the best damn appendix holster in the business, which is Berkut 2, and
Agreed.
you know, I know some people that haven't tried it and haven't trained, and they'll go like, no, my holster from XYZ company is the best, and all that. We'll get into that discussion as we go along. We'll talk about technicalities. Again, I'm going to warn you guys, those of you who don't know Chris. Chris is special. Even today, when we checked the connection earlier in the day, he started talking about certain things, and I went like, "All right, where's my fucking aspirin?" Because I knew I'm gonna have a headache. So
I have the old person sized bottle of Aleve on my desk now.
there you go, there you go. But
All right, you
we'll
want to
talk
run?
holsters, we'll talk history, we'll talk things that you think are the most important as far as not per se specific design of the holster, but overall, the
Philosophy of use.
philosophy behind making something that's robust and making something that it follows function. It's not the looks. It's not the
Right.
whatever is cryptic or whatever finish of the chosen material is. That's consumer decision what he wants it to look like.
How
But
pretty you want? Okay, so
well,
Let me go through. I'm going to go through about 30 seconds of my curriculum vitae for people that don't have any fucking clue who I am. Where's this crazy person? Did he fall off the
Go
moon? No.
for it.
So my name's Christian Green. Yes, that's my real name. My parents give me that one. I know it makes me sound like an eco-terrorist of a religious bent, but it's not. It's just me. So I grew up in South Florida in the Keys during the Jimmy Buffett pirate days. And whilst I was down there, I was a EMT, firefighter, rescue captain, extrication technician, hazmat technician. If Florida put on a school for it, I went to it because I was allowed to play hooky if I did that. I took my GED when I was 15 and went over to the junior college where all the hot college chicks were, and that was a hoot. So I did the EMT thing for a while for paid, and then while I was there, I realized that I didn't like riding around in a car with another fool because oftentimes I'd disagree with my paramedic partner, and sometimes we'd get into fisticuffs while driving, and I didn't like that because that was unsafe for me and everybody else. So I went to the police academy because I realized that I could ride around by myself. And that was a hoot. I enjoyed being able to like drive as fast as I wanted to and turn on the wee woos whenever I wanted to. And that was pretty cool. And then right before 9/11, I mean, like less than a year before 9/11, my dad got a job with a corporate, let's just say corporate security. And he had the opportunity to hire an assistant, me. So I came up here and did that till 9/11 happened. And then all the corporate stuff crashed. And I went to be a bridge builder. And I went to work for a large bridge company where I was working when I started my holster company, because after many years of not being in the shooty shoot game, I saw a James Yeager video, the Pack Your Bags video. It was the first James Yeager video I ever saw. That was my initial exposure to the man. And it fired me up so much, I booked a class. Didn't care what class it was. I just booked the next class of tactical response. And it happened to be the John Farnham instructors class. And I went like, well, the police let me be an instructor. I'm qualified to go to this, right? Wrong. But anyway, I learned a whole lot that weekend, and I got yelled at for the first time by James Yeager, and I got chased out of the back of the old shop that looks like a part of a post office and out across the back there because he thought I was smoking in his building because that was the first time he'd ever seen anybody with a vape. So that was my introduction to the tactical response world. But in trying to get ready for this class that I knew was coming, I ordered I was making crazy money. I was making like $3,000 a week doing dumb shit for the bridge industry. Don't ask. Robots and shit. So I ordered like Bravo concealment back when like the hot chick and the dude were doing everything for them.
Yeah.
I ordered Filster. I ordered like $400 worth of gear because the first piece of shit I got was fucked up. And I realized that every piece of gear that I bought had something wrong with it that had somebody taken a little more care, like 2% more care in either the design or the finish or the decisions that they made about the cuts and the lines. So I proceeded to use the great resources of the Pitt Des Moines Bridge Company to build myself a really pimp Kydex shop in a half-collapsed building at their facility in Palatka, Florida, where I had an underground Kydex shop going in the back of, I won't tell you where it is, but it's still there. And I just used the big water jets and all the big flame cutty thingies to make. Yeah. So all of my initial holsters weren't made with wood presses because I'm not a carpenter. I'm a welder and a mechanic and an engineer. So I just drew it all in CAD and had Robbie the robot cut it out of what I had laying around, which was steel. So all of my initial presses were steel with big steel clamps. I broke a lot of molds and I broke a lot of stuff, but I had really good definition, right? Right. So from that, I taught myself how to make Kydex. I went to my first class after the John Farnham class because I hadn't got my shit figured out by the John Farnham's class. It really looked bad. It looked like you'd attacked a 2-liter bottle with a hairdryer. It was awful. So I learned what I was doing, and I went back and I took fighting pistol. And there were some dudes there, and those dudes wanted me to build them gear. They wanted to buy my gear, and I'm like, no, my gear not for sale, yo, because I carry Glock, you carry Kimber, you suck. But anyway, I didn't know that at the time. I was just learning. Same class I met Jack Clemens at. Same class that I met. Oh God, what was his name? Anyway, it'll come back to me. My brain's, I got other stuff in my head. So I was in the tactical response team room under James Yeager's house, and the guy wanted to order a rig from me, and I didn't have to take money. I had no way to. I got no. I don't know. So he says, make a PayPal. I'm like, I need an email address. He says, make a Gmail address. I'm like, well, fuck. Now I got to make up a name. So I literally reached over and shook Jay, who was asleep on the couch to my right, over where the table used to be, over the couch. I just shook him away. I'm like, dude, I need to name a company. He's like, what's it going to do? I'm like, I guess we're making holsters. He goes, didn't even open his eyes. Eyes still shut. It's got to be forceful, and it should be tactical, and you should put your name in it. All right? I'm like, all right. So I rolled those three things around for about 30 seconds and named my company and took my first order in James Jager's basement. Thank you, James. R.I.P. So that's how I started making holsters, dude. I didn't have a website. I was on Facebook. You know those big cardboard boxes, the long skinny ones that Kydex comes in? You might not know. We called those the talking boxes. I would write what people wanted on the inside of it and how much I charged them. And when I shipped it, I would go up there to the post office and pay them. And they would give me these little strips of paper with a number on them. And I would stick them to the box next to their name. And that's how I knew the order was done. That was how it started. And then we ballooned up to like 12 employees. And then like 3 or 4 years ago, I made a conscious decision that my business was running my life and I wasn't running my business. So I shrunk it back down and quit advertising. And now it's just me and my boy Thornton out here in the swamp. Geographically, if you're looking for me, just imagine if Shrek's swamp was in Jumanji, centered up in Florida, and you'd be like 100% accurate. Like, I'm on the high ground between standing water and like alligators and hogs, and I had a hog.
I have visited Christian in his compound there in that part of Florida, and I tell you, it was it's an adventure to get there to find the place, and then
Look,
once you get there, you go
there's
like
some dangerous places, and the wildlife. We have 2-footed wildlife, and 4-footed, and no-footed, and no
and
shouldered, and
and
now we
and
got monitor
14
lizards.
and 14-footed too, and
Yeah. I had a
so
hawk. I told you about this earlier, but I had a hawk make a low pass on my cat out in the yard this morning when I was standing out there being one with nature and talking to Jesus and stuff. And I was taking a leak, and this hawk came by and made a pass on my cat, and I yelled at him, and he kind of broke off, but he looped right back around like a Japanese zero, like right, and come right at my face. Like I yelled at him, he turned around in mid-flight to see what was going on, and then I thought to myself, shit, I might have to shoot this hawk, right? That was just a momentary thought, because obviously I'm not going to go into anti-aircraft mode with a Glock 19 on a federally protected species in my yard for any feds that are listening. It was just a thought that I had. And that's when I
right.
realized that I hadn't gamed this out properly. Like I gamed out everything you can do in a convenience store or a gas station, or I'll never be in a tattoo parlor, but it's a tattoo parlor. That was forced upon me. But anyway, I'd never thought about what I do if I'm peeing and I got to let go of one thing and draw another thing and shoot. Like, is there a proper, for lack of a better word, reholster that you do before you go for your? I mean, I'm looking for input here, bro.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's probably
that's
a separate class, about reholstering your cock while you're peeing, and you need to address the airborne threats.
I want to tell you something that's become part of my daily use. It's never far away.
Good.
I use this thing for a machete, anti-snake stuff, but this is like the most useful little like garden trowel slash machete slash, and of course it's a titanium one. Can you read murder spoon on it? This one says murder spoon.
Yeah.
This is
Damn.
what happens. This is what happens when I'm unsupervised with a big old honking laser that don't belong to me. I'll do dumb stuff. Anyway,
Yeah, I can see
so
that. I can see that.
anyway, let's do some holster stuff and drop a little bit of knowledge before I get too lost in the sauce and we run out of time before I say anything about Plastic Fantastic. So,
Right.
I guess the basic thing to understand is that I come at making holsters from an engineering standpoint, right? I don't know what a holster is supposed to look like, okay? Because I've realized that everything everybody was doing that looked cool didn't work very good. So I came at it from first principles. What does the holster need to do? What's its job? Okay. And if it has multiple jobs, in order, prioritized, because if nothing's a priority and everything's a priority and nothing's a priority. So you have to prioritize stuff. And what I figured out for the top priority for a holster is that it holds the gun securely on you, right? That encompasses a whole bunch of stuff. But if you take those two things as first principle, has to keep the gun on you safely and securely, as like the thing. Like if you have an idea, you work it around that, and if it makes it 2% better, awesome, let's try that. If it arguably makes it 2% worse, we'll look at it. But in all likelihood, we ain't gonna do it. Okay. So come at it from first principles from that direction. What does it need to do? So that's the main priority. Keep it on you, secure, safe, meaning it covers the trigger guard. On reholster, there's nothing that sticks out that can press the trigger. There's no big, wide, bizarre horns that can fit into the trigger guard and actuate the trigger. That's something. If you look at um, one of our holsters that's been cut for an RMR, this is a Burkett 2 with the radical dick bump and
Yeah,
the RMR cutaway at the front. If you take a look at them, um, you'll find that there's no piece of the holster. We could cut this away a bunch more and make it look all super sexy. Like if we cut this line down more here and brought it up here and opened this up a little bit more, but then we'd end up with a thing, and I've been informed that I'm not allowed to show GUNS or plastic replicas of GUNS on here. But just
yeah.
trust me that
And
when
I'm gonna interrupt you here for a second, just so people understand why we're gonna be showing holsters, but you're not gonna see the items that go into holsters because both YouTube and Facebook have a policy that specifically on live feeds, if they do see a firearm, it's their matrix is whatever. It's
and there's no
such that
arguing with them. Once the AI
no,
flags it, it's
no,
flagged, it's
no.
through.
It's gonna be removed. I learned it the hard way. We did a live feed where I had a gun,
Right.
and literally within 30 seconds it was cut.
Yep.
So we're not going to do that. I just want people to understand that we're not being politically correct. We just understand certain realities of today's social media and how shit works. And we're going to try to deliver information, using those resources without
Stepping over
being
the
like,
line.
I don't give a shit what the rules are, and that's and I'm going to remove 10 people that may need this information. That just makes no sense. So that's that.
Right. Right. So when we design, we can make it look cooler by cutting away stuff, but we introduce the opportunity for like this to go into the trigger guard if you're like panic reholstering and you get your trigger guard across the back of the sweat guard. I've seen designs where that will go in the trigger guard and actuate. And we're not
Yeah.
going to have that. I mean, yes, it's less sexy to have this swoop here and this big fat lollipop, but if it keeps all the blood in your body, I'm happy,
Yeah,
right?
like I have one of those right here. With
Right.
that, with all that stuff, and it's so. Here's the thing, right? Right. So you guys listening to Christopher talking about like what is this is what I when I met Christopher and we started to talk Christian, not Christian, gee,
You can call
something
me
else was
anything
on.
but late for dinner, homie.
Here's the thing.
That's right.
Uh,
That's right.
so me and Christian were talking, and I'm like, this is this is the way I look at violence. This is the way I look at fighting. Analytics, very hard dig, very deep. What's where, the why behind the what, and then we go crazy, right? And then we go crazy because what functions it should provide, right? And
Right.
so this was one of the main things that to me was like, all right, so this dude in it, not per se to win it, like millions of customers or being a
I don't want
lifestyle
that. I don't
lifestyle
want
brand.
that.
Like some holster companies have become pretty much lifestyle brands with some of the UFC superstars wearing and advertising their holsters and all that. I'm like, this is not the dude.
That does
And
not interest me at all.
and we started talking, and I'm not an engineer at all. In that sense, I have no fucking clue how to make things work. What I do know is I know what my gear needs to do,
You know the
what it needs to
problem.
provide.
You need a solution.
Yes,
See,
I know exactly the problem. I know exactly how what the solutions are. I don't know
that's
how
me,
to
bro.
achieve those solutions. And this was the beautiful marriage, so to speak, between two our crazy brains, was that you know I knew what needs to happen. I didn't know how the hell to make it so. And this is where Christian came in. And as I said, it took me literally few minutes after talking to him after the initial exposure on that range there in Camden in the heat of the sun.
Right.
I go like, this is. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the guy that's going to be making my holsters, you know. And by the end of that weekend, it was decided. I didn't even have a prototype yet. It took a little while for me to get a first prototype and all that.
Well, remember, it had a plastic rocker bar on it, and I'm like, that
Yeah,
can't fucking work, dude.
yeah,
And I think the
yeah.
first one's
And he was
the first one's
explaining things to me, and I'm like, what the, you know, none of that to me like made sense until he like explains. He goes like, look how many holes it has. You know that these are all stress points, and when this happens, I'm like, never thought about it. You know,
Oh,
never thought
let
about
me
it.
talk about the hinge. Let me talk about the hinge. If I don't teach anything, if I don't teach everybody here but one thing tonight, I want to teach them how to think about a holster and how it works. Imagine it's a big hinge, okay? The top part of the holster where your sight channel is. Now it's not because the sight channel's there. It just works out with the physics of the mechanism that when you shove a GUN into your holster and force it apart right here, when you do this springy thing right here to actuate your retention mechanism, right? Pushy, 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 snap, right? You want that big old clunk and clack. No flexing takes place here. No flexing takes place here. No flexing takes place here. Okay. This is the pivot point right here. Okay. From here, if you draw a line to the top of the holster right here, this is the part of the holster that moves, but all of the flexing takes place right here. And one of the big mistakes that I see other holster makers doing, and it's encouraged for aesthetics, and I just think it's dumb engineering. I'll tell you the way we do it, and I'll tell you the way other people do it, and you tell me which way you want it done, okay? So this thing is molded flat. It's molded with this side and this side, molded at the same time on a mirror image CNC routed mold form that we've Swiss cheese so the air flows through it and you get places, depth, reasons, right? Science, okay? But it has to be folded. All right. One of the things that has to happen in order to make a holster out of a holster shaped flat piece and turn it into a holster shaped object is you have to fold it along this line. And the way we do it is we have a custom strip heater that concentrates the heat on a band about 3/8 of an inch wide. So we don't heat up the whole top of the holster. And then what we do is we heat the inside last. Okay. What that means is we heat the form 4 times, 5 seconds aside, and the last time we heat the inside so that when it's folded, instead of it getting thinner by stretching the top doesn't go anywhere and it constrains the inside and makes this area slightly thicker. Okay. And because that is where the spring action is happening, right here in this area, we want that to be a nice soft curve, right? We want that to be shaped like a spring, not shaped like some kind of squiggly line where you've got a stress riser every time it changes direction, right? We want a nice, easy, uniform distribution of forces. If you look at other holsters, what you'll see instead of this, you'll see a profile that looks like a top hat. It goes in, up, over, down, out, right? It's like a rectangle. And the reason they do that is because on the top of every GUN mold that you buy these days, it has a 1/4 inch sight channel that runs down the top that's rectangular in cross section. And the way people do their holster form is they put the gun in there and then they invert it and they press it into a form that is it's supposed to be
So let me
the,
show you something like this.
yes, just like that. Okay, and you can see in the corners that it's thinner. If you look in the upper right hand corner and upper left hand corner, the material is thinner in there because what's happened is as that plastic has been forced down into that groove to make it conform to the inside mold, it gets caught in the side friction and it stretches that material both at the bottom 90, which it's inverted where it'd be at the top of the slide, and up at the top parts. The problem is up there, those top corners, that's where all of your movement, all of your flexing takes place. And you've made a thinner spot. So instead of the whole thing flexing, it's just flexing in those little 90s where it's thinner and it's a 90 and a stress riser.
Yeah. So
Yes,
when you look at Berkut, right, you don't
that's going
see
with a
that.
round wad.
Yeah,
That's
you
a
don't.
round rod jammed in there when it's hot and levered up, right? So
Yep.
you put it in there and then you get it straight and then you hold up slight pressure on it like that. And what that does is that makes this part down here, see it slightly elongates, not the
Hmm.
peak, not way down here, but right there. Okay. What that does is when you put that rod in there, it makes the inside surface regular all the way down so that there's no place for it to fracture. And the other thing is polish. The reason you polish is not to make it pretty. It does. That's a side benefit. But remember that Kydex is mostly ABS with a little bit of acrylic. Okay. And if you have a line, just like you draw a line on glass with a diamond, or you draw a line on a piece of plastic with a scribe and bend it, it's going to break right there. Not just in the gross, in the extra macro fashion, but on the micro level too. So particularly when you're selecting a holster, look at the places where they crack, wherever you've had a holster crack before.
Yep.
Examine the new holster or your prospective new holster and make sure that area is shiny and you can see that there's no line, crack, strike, anything across there. And advice if you have I never advise anybody modifying their holsters, but if you have an old holster that you just crash into something and put a big gouge in the corner like that, feel free to just take a little 400 sandpaper and dress that up a little bit, just so that you don't have a place for a fracture to occur. Um, so speaking of fractures, the only way we've ever had a Burkett fail in 7 years is by the holes. We drill 3 levels of holes. This is the Sonny recommended height. Okay. This
For
is
regular
the
for regular people.
yes, and that's determined by if you look at where the grip where your hand would be for the grip, you want just enough room to get your hand under that grip right there, and for that hole to be the belt line, right? So that you can do your reverse grip. If you need more clearance for your reverse grip, running it reverse can as intended, you can go to this hole right here. And if you're going to go someplace where you're not supposed to have a gun, a non-permissive environment, if you drop it to this hole, it lets you get most of the butt of the gun down behind the belt, and it helps you conceal it a little bit better. But also talking about the physics, anybody that's ever had basic science classes realizes that when you're trying to calculate when something tips over, this just happens to be some Dollar Tree plastic spoons. Just pretend this is a rectangular solid, and it's all made out of the same material. You could draw a line from corner to corner and make an X, and if it's all the same density, that will be your center of gravity. And when something tips over, is when that center of gravity exceeds the base. When the base that's supporting it is exceeded, that's when it falls over. So with holsters, we have to look at that from a reverse backflip view, right? Because everybody wants to put their button, their retention or their hanger geometry, their center of gravity. They want to put it where it's convenient. And unfortunately for us, physics doesn't really give a shit what's convenient. Okay,
No.
so you have the weight of the gun in the slide high density area, a lower density grip area, and then a magazine that's full of high density stuff. So what you have to do is when you get you're going to do a new gun, right? You have to get a loaded gun and then sit here and play the does it balance game, right? You have to do that. And for the vertical CG, it's going to be somewhere in here where it just wants to spin freely, like it don't give a shit. Whee! So
Yeah.
what we have to do is we have to reverse the base and look up and go, how high do we need to be above what is going to be our base, which is going to be the crossbar? That's going to be our base, but it's inverted. Remember, gravity's inverted for us, right? So you have to go up high enough so that the center of gravity of the gun always wants to be pendant from the hanger. Otherwise, you get to wrestling around with somebody flipping around the ground. It can go, buck wild, crazy different directions. And we take some steps, some engineering measures to mitigate that. The big one is there's a rubber spacer betwixt the crossbar and the kydex. And yeah, it gives room for your pants, but that ain't really what it's for, yo. What it's for is so that this doesn't spin freely. It has friction. It'll stop wherever you put it, right? And the
Yes,
tighter you
like
close
on
the
here
cigarette,
you'll see I put the thinner one as far as the
yeah,
rubber
yeah, you
spacer,
just
right?
chop them up.
But
That's
it's
all you, brother, man.
like Chris was saying, it's not gonna spin without friction. It has basically it's its own retention device. Now,
But you can
before Chris
bump it
continues
wherever.
talking, because Chris will continue talking until about 4:30 this morning. But before he continues, guys, I want you to understand this. Those of you who are listening and those of you who will be sharing and people who will be watching after the live ends and it's available for rewatch. Guys, I don't know if you realize, but you are getting a fucking master class here on the art, not just art, but the science of holster engineering. I know people go like, "What is the big deal about the holster?" Well, let me tell you. What you're carrying in the holster may be the one tool that decides who goes home, who doesn't. I submit to you, it's pretty damn important piece of gear. Few things that I don't try to save money on. I don't try to save money on my guns. I do not try to save money on my shoes. I spend a lot of time on my feet. I've been in protection business for a number of years where I had to be on my feet 18, 19 hours a day. This is not where you try to save the money. And I will tell you right now, you do not look to save the money on holsters or things that carry your ammunition, such as magazine holders. This is not where you save money. You also don't save money on training. Other
Buy
things,
brand name magazines. Don't love yourself at least a Glock 19 worth. That's first and foremost. At least a Glock 19 worth. If the gun you're looking at buying costs less than a Glock 19, don't fucking buy it. Love yourself at least a Glock 19 worth. Two, your holster is your sling for your pistol. Okay, if I can think of three right off the top of my bat of incidents where I got in a physical altercation with somebody and just shoved them off their feet and watched their gun go skittering past their head. And that was the first indication I had they were armed. Why? Oh, I was kind of a dumbass. I don't really know what I was doing when I was a cop. I'm gonna tell everybody straight up. Graduating from a police academy, even a long ass one like in Florida, is not a proper preparation for being
no.
a police officer. Okay. Look, I did a lot of outside reading and tactics for uniform patrol and street survival, and I watched all the Panteo videos with Masad Ayub, and I thought I was ready for all that shit. Dude, every class I came home from with Sonny or with James Yeager or any of those other dudes, I'd had a long ride back to Florida. Like I used to go up there and get fucked up in the head. I would drive to Camden, Tennessee, 14 hours, all this anticipation. Can't wait to get there. And then I get there and have the class. And then I drive home to Florida, not listening to any music, just sitting there going in my head, going over all the times I should have been dead. But for like blind ass luck and like the unskilledness of my opponents, I should be dead so many times it's not even fucking. Like
Yeah.
the fight, the first time I took the fight screwed me up, dude. Like legit. Like I went back to work and told him I needed a couple of days off to go sit on a pond and reflect on my life. I said those words to my supervisor, and hearing those words come out of my mouth was so. He said later was so disturbing that he just said, "Yeah, do what you got to do, man." But yeah, if you've never taken the fight, you really should go take that class. If you've never taken any force on force, don't consider yourself prepared for a gunfight. A lot of that stuff in your fantasy gunfight in your head, that stuff that you think's going to work, give that a shot with sim guns first. It's way less bloody. It's not completely bloodless, but it's way less bloody. Yeah, I learned some things about myself up there in the shoot house. A lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Very very
that's
little.
that's something that training has an interesting thing about it is that you get to you know you get exposure to a theory that is in somewhat controlled manner is transferred to theory into practice. Granted, it's still limited. It's still, we're trying to keep people in one piece without limbs falling off and that kind of stuff, right? But you do get to experiment with stuff.
You'd
And
experiment with especially with tactics. Things you
yeah,
think that would work, like little fucking mojos you've got in your head that'll work, and I can do this and I can do that. Man, just go give that a shot with Anthony Cardone in the shoot house. Just Just go try whatever you want to try. See how that goes, right? Or
Yeah, you know,
just go give it.
I quote quite often, Mark Animal McYoung when he says, what's the difference between the theory and the practice? In theory, none. And that's exactly what it is. And
Yep,
so to me, again, just to come back before we go a little bit further into physics and mechanics of holster craft and why things are important. It's already, guys, what Chris was explaining about, that upper part where the front side post and well, the side post goes in, right? It's already should give you some ideas that most people are absolutely unaware of when they're looking at the holsters and
that's a
purchasing
good
and
one.
picking and choosing their holsters. It is important part because that is mainly, as Chris was explaining, from that center line, from that balancing point to that is exactly where the stress point for breakage goes. And because of deflection, because of the way it works, that's that's unavoidable. And once you get into some kind of body slamming into the ground, falling, wrestling, shit will go bad. And when
We
your holster cracks and your gun falls out in the middle of the fight and you still have to somehow go home after that fight, it may become problematic. Not because you cannot shoot the guy, but he can pick up your gun and shoot you. And
exactly.
and that becomes an issue. That becomes an issue. So let me ask you another question, Chris.
Sure, man.
So we were talking numerous times, and we're using. I know it's a cliche term, but form has to follow function, right? And in the
Absolutely.
industry, a lot of people use that, and you know, and I'm sometimes questioning if people really put some time, some thought into what is the meaning of form follows function. So,
I can,
from the
I can,
perspective
I
of the holster craft and designing holsters, how would
sure.
you how would you put it?
Okay, so what I would say is is we want to accomplish many goals with a single mechanism. Okay, so primary goals: cover the trigger guard, cover the mag carrier, the mag release to try to avoid administrative gun handling and accidental mag pump out, and make it as durable as possible. Eliminate every place where there is a stress riser or potential for cracks. In the Burka, the only place we ever had one fail was had one of these holes crack out where the holster was levered on this way a whole
Yeah.
bunch. And to cure that, what we did, we went from aluminum. We originally, the original Burkett bar was aluminum, it was 1/8 inch aluminum, and it was 1/8 inch aluminum because my buddy Mike makes ski bars out of 1/8 inch aluminum, and I had access to free 1/8 inch aluminum to play with. So the first ones were made out of 1/8 inch aluminum because that was why.
I
But
actually have
then,
one of the aluminum bars right here.
yeah, there you go. Well, that's one of the handmade ones.
Yes.
Yeah. That is it stainless?
Yes.
I think I might. Oh yeah, that's what I cut like two out of stainless because I had a piece of stainless in the machine. I'm like,
Yes.
we're gonna throw this away. I'm gonna make some stuff. Yeah. So
Yes.
that one's stainless. You'll never do anything to that one.
You'll never break this one, yeah. And that's
When
why I keep it
Martians
because
land
that's
in the okay,
that's
so
one
that's just on a piece of
one in that
stainless.
pattern that you made it for me. So
Oh yeah, the snake pattern. So that piece of stainless is stainless knife steel. We were
yeah,
making knives. So
yeah,
that piece of stainless in a million years when the Martians are kicking through the dust of our
they'll
civilization,
find this.
they'll find that in titanium space swords. That was the
Yeah,
design constraint. So what we're talking about when we're doing a holster is we want to make it cover the bases, which is keep it on you securely, safely. And we want it to be comfortable enough to wear so that you will wear it. So one of the things we talk about a lot is the angle of batter. If you pile up dirt or any gravel, dust, anything you pile up that's a powder will eventually reach what they call the angle of batter. And that's the angle at which that substance naturally stacks up, right? So for something like gravel, it'll be like tall because it resists with the physical friction of the shape of the rocks will make it taller, whereas sand will flatten right out because it kind of, or a powder like flour will get really low angle of batter. Well, people meat or fat has an angle of batter. Okay. So your belly meat can only conform. Let me see if I've got one here that's got a closed bottom on it. your belly meat can only go so far, right? Right. So your belly meat can only describe a certain arc, right? Your belly meat ain't gonna go around this corner. This is gonna push into your belly meat, and your belly meat's gonna be a little above and a little below, right? So when you're talking about making a holster, when you're where to cut it away and how to treat the edges, what you want to do is like this is going to be the inner thigh, right? This part right here, no matter how you slice it, no matter what you do, eventually this thing right here is going to end up on the side of your thigh instead of your junculus, right? So your junk's going to end up in this area right here, right? So you want to make the junculus area, this area, where it can't, there's nothing you can find, even on the softest meat of your body. There's no part of this down here that's going to be in your underwear that can get any kind of pressure on you at all because of the angle of batter. There, you kind of see it there, the angle of batter of fat. So we don't try to suck or mold our stuff tight everywhere. Like that's not what's important. Okay. It's not important that you be able to hold the holster up and read the serial number of the gun it was molded off of. Okay. That's just people trying to be extra, right? And because they're trying to be extra,
That's
right.
lifestyle
But to
holsters.
get to that level of detail, you've got to overheat your Kydex considerably, whereby you only get one shot at Kydex. Anybody that tells you that they remolded your holster or took your holster and heated it up again and made it better, no, okay, because it's a plastic. Every time you heat it up, you drive off volatiles, okay? The volatiles, or the things that will go away under heating, are the things that keep your Kydex supple, keep it soft, keep it from hardening. If you ever see a big shiny spot on a holster, that's been overheated. You don't want that, okay? Um, you want your Kydex to look like you ought to be able to roll it up, even the printed stuff. You ought to be able to roll it up and still be able to see texture there, okay? Unless we're talking about this stuff, and even this stuff, you can see the shiny stuff. You can still see, and you can hear it with your fingernail that there's still texture there. And that's
Yeah.
the first thing that goes away when you overheat it. When you overheat it, that top coat goes whoop and gets flat and shiny and smooth, and there's your problem. Um, what else did I want to talk about? I got notes. Stand by, stand by. See base over gravity stability. Oh, this is very important. Sonny and I covered this earlier. I see a lot of people setting up their holsters. So quick talk about retention. The squishy part that's in there in your retention, that thing ain't doing nothing to keep it from rattling. Okay, that thing has no impact whatsoever on how the retention of your holster works. Okay, that squishy thing there is just to keep the post and the screw from rattle. Okay, that's all it's there for. Because when you stick your GUN in the holster and it does its hinge, if you look, the first thing that happens is this part right here comes together, right? Comes together. Now, once it comes together, it can't do anything else except open up this fulcrum right here, up here across the hinge. Okay, so all you're setting the maximum opening before the secondary retention mechanism starts happening. So it's easy to slide in because you got space here, right? So the first little bit you slide it in, it slides in nice and soft and easy and smooth. Like you can drop it in there at that point, right? But when you get down here close to the bottom and this bottoms out down here where these two pieces touch, then you get the full mechanism right there. You get the full battle rattle janky jank. So when you're setting up your holster for retention and you're screwing it and slamming your gun in and out of it, I'm sorry, that was kind of rude. When you're tightening it up and putting your gun carefully and respectfully in and out with consent over and over and over again and trying to get your retention right, you're fucking yourself. Your retention needs to be set up for how it's going to be in your pants, which means it's going to be less than you want total while it's out of your pants. And then when you put it in your pants and your belt and your belly meat shoves up against it and adds a little bit of compression there, that has to be factored into your calculation for your retention, which is why you see people set them up, put them in their pants, and they put it in and they try to snatch their britches off. It's like, yeah. Yeah, physics don't.
So what you're saying, when people do the testing with the holster that's not
Right.
in their pants, and they go like, okay, retention is right. Once you put it in there, it's no longer the
Correct. It's
same
going to be much
retention.
tighter, perhaps as much as 25%. And that surprises people, but if you give it a little bit of thought, it makes sense. And I do a lot of thinking.
Uh, I hate to repeat myself, guys. As I said, when I said that holster talk, you will have your head hurting because Christian is swimming deep. These are the things that like in what you're talking to expert in some area, right? Whether it's rifle craft, or you're talking like to Pete Junior about making ammunition, or you're talking
Yeah,
about, you know what I mean?
talking to a bullet.
And
He
it
makes my
takes
head
you,
hurt, bro. I
yeah,
have
it takes you
conversations with him
into
at 3 o'clock in the morning that just and I've done load development. I've held a license for experimental ammunition to destructive devices. Like, I know how to use graph paper to figure shit out. But some of the stuff, I just have to say bye, Pete, and then Thornton will come back here, and I'm sitting here with my fingers on the sides of my head, and I got like 15 pages of math written out on the side of a little Debbie box with a Sharpie. He just knows to leave me alone because I've been peated. So yeah,
and the reason why I wanted to have Christian on is that because I think that most people, when they look at holsters and they choose their holsters, they really don't know much about the engineering and ins and outs of the product and what
yeah,
it's supposed to do. I think it's good to hear, so to speak, from the horse's mouth about the inner workings, so to speak, of that. So what people assume is, what's the big deal? You take some plastic, you bend it in half, you cut it, you polish it, you drill some holes, you measure it for the gun, you slap the gun in, and you go and you go and you go, and you're going to be
right.
hard to kill, right?
Yeah, $50
Bullshit.
you should pay right
Bullshit.
there at
It takes a lot.
the what do we call those things? Gun shows. Oh man,
Yeah, and this is without even going into any other areas, that this is not the topic as far as training and preparation, and being able and capable and willing. Right? This is just gear. This is just piece of
baseline
plastic
gear.
where your gun will be riding. That's where you're going to be carrying. And I think I think most people. I don't know if it's most, but my suspicion is most, carrying a gun became almost like it's almost like a fucking fashion statement.
Talismanic.
Almost. You know what I mean? It's
Talismanic.
yeah, yeah. It's my talisman. I carry it. I don't know much what to
I'll
do
ward
with it.
off
I don't do
evil.
much
Oh, sorry.
training and learning
I
about
got
it.
to make sure I don't make one. I'll ward off evil with it. Evil away.
Yeah, and, that's something that I haven't yet made public at anyone at any point. But I can tell you now that we have Christian on here, that four of your Berkuts too have been in the
Excellent.
gunfights. All of them are still with their owners, and their owners are
I
still with
don't
their
know
families.
if anybody knows
So
this, but it's been our firm policy. We've had several of our customers become involved in gunfights, and we don't care. We don't want to know any details. But if you ever have your stuff taken from you because you've been involved in a shooting and your stuff is now in evidence, I can't provide you with a new gun because I'm not where you are. But I can overnight express you whatever gear you need. If you don't care about the color, we will ship. Don't ask. Just hit us up and say, Glock, I got in a shooting. Cops took my stuff. Here's my address. Shoot me some gear, and we'll just look you up and make sure you're a customer.
yep.
And if you got to borrow a gun and it's not the gun that you bought from us, we're not going to get into the weeds on that. We've done that a little over half a dozen times. I don't want to get super specific, but we have some mutual friends.
No, and here's the thing. I want people to know this. It's some people thinking, well, Sonny is carrying his Berkut because it's advertisement, because he's guys. The money that I'm making off of Berkut too is not gonna make my
No,
living. Okay,
no,
I'll tell you that. I carry Berkut too because, again, in my opinion, and yes, I'm proud of it, because me and Christian here, we talked through it, we designed it, we put it together, how it's going to do what it's supposed to do, how it's
and
supposed to
continual
function,
development.
and it is the best damn inside the waistband appendix carry holster, period. I have in front of me here, like right now, one is on my belt now. I have right here in my office four of them
And you
just
got a
laying
big old
around,
box coming.
and I have big old box of like 14 of them coming. And I don't do that to advertise because for one, it's concealed carry holster. It's not. Guys, I have access to holsters. I have another probably 60, 70 different holsters since we developed Berkut that's been sent to me by my friends, by different companies, and all that stuff. Take a guess if there was a day when I stepped outside of my property, outside of my range, carrying my gun in anything but Berkut. And the answer is no. And guess what? I'm not walking out there with my T-shirt lifted up to go like, "Hey, take a look! This is made by Green Force Tactical and it's Berkut too, or whatnot." No, because it's the best damn holster to carry my gun in case I need to freaking use it. God
Yep.
forbid, And
That's what I carry in.
we started talking about version 3 of Berkut over 3 years ago. We still don't have it out, and I don't know when and if we will have it out because I personally there is improvement from what Berkut 2 is, but
Not
it's
quite
not
enough
enough
for a
for me
full
to go
iteration.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
There's some things
yeah,
I want to work. Like there's a I don't want to spill any beans, but there's a
yeah.
geometry that has to happen. Let me see if I can. Okay. So there's a geometry that we want to happen here.
Hold on, something happened. Something happened with your sound here that it went very
How about now?
shallow. Speak,
No, can you
Chris.
hear the radio?
You sound like you on the radio
Better?
now. Yeah.
Worse?
Huh? The same. You sound like a cop who's about to
Awesome.
retire.
I'm already retired, so we're good. Um, this geometry right here, where we're talking about going over the hill, I'm just having a little. Here's the thing. Now that we've gone to not just a titanium external bar, so this is grade 3 titanium here, and we put one on the inside as a strain reliever, it's the same piece, just so we don't have to make another one. Um,
Yeah.
the idea of bringing it around the front is causing me some. It's a geometrical issue. It's three things trying to occupy the space at the same time. The armor, the front jiggity whoopity whoopity thing of which we want to speak, and the movement in of the pickup point to take enough advantage to get that rack around, reach around, pull around, yaw around the vertical bore that we want to achieve. We're trying to do the reverse claw thing like a different way on the front up there. That's the only part of the geometry that's really giving me any issues. And I think JT's got the right part figured out for the Velcro removable deck bump, where we can have the soft Velcro on here and they can remove or replace the dick bump. It's been a matter of not wanting to cut our own dick, our own foam, our own thing. Like I make plastic like foam, it gets stuck to my fingers when it's hot and I burn myself and it's bad. So we were just trying to come up with a commercial product that we could purchase, Velcro and put on there that wasn't something that goes in a shoe. So I think John's got something that's small, and I think he sent you one in the box you're fixing to get. I think there's a random colored holster, and it's the only one that's got a big white foamy thing stuck on. Well, not big. I mean, it's bigger than my thumb, but it's not as big as
Got it.
my coat.
Yeah. When that box comes in, I'll certainly let you know.
But that's just the next.
But
There's just
yeah,
not enough there to go 3.0 yet. It's not enough.
yeah, yeah.
The
We're gonna get
2.0,
there.
we've developed that thing. I mean, for the first 3 years, that holster changed about once a month. I don't know if you remember that, but I would send you a rig, you would give me feedback, I would change it, I would send you a rig, you give me feedback. And we're
Yep,
selling the shit out of rigs in the
yep.
meantime, and they're all great. There's just little 1% here, 1% here, 1% move this a little bit, tweak this, that. And then we gave a bunch of Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys, and
And
they went and rolled with them with blue guns on them. That's our test group.
yeah, I told that story in my holster video before that I posted like a year and a half ago or whatever it was. But so when I received the Berkut 2 from Green Force Tactical, um, I slept with it on. I literally fell asleep with it on the couch. And I woke up at like 7:30 in the morning, all sweaty and shit because I didn't take off my shirt or whatnot. And I'm like, damn. So that's the first thing I noticed, that I'm sweaty, and because I'm sleeping on leather couch and all that stuff. And only at some point later, I go like, oh yeah, I still have my gun.
I fell asleep on the couch in Las Vegas, face down, and hotel security. This
Yeah.
wasn't in a room. This was like in a lobby. And the security comes over to wake me up, and he wakes me up, and he's like, "Are you carrying a gun?" And I'm like, "Are you carrying a gun?" He goes, "Yeah, but I'm security." I said, "Maybe I'm security too." And he just wandered off. Same trip. I'm with Zach Hall, and we're in the elevator at the where's the place they had the shooting? Mandalay Bay. We're in that elevator
Yeah.
riding up to go to that party, and I've got a sling bag with a suppressed machine gun and a mag in it on my chest. And Zach's got the Velociraptor. I've got a 300 Blackout that's like the bodyguard gun for the stuff. And then Zach's got the Velociraptor in the bag. And we get on an elevator, and these two Las Vegas Metro cops get on. And is an old cop and a young cop. And the young cop says, "What do y'all got in the bags?" And Zach looks him right in the fucking eye with full-blown fucking stage 4 cancer and goes, "Machine guns, want to see them?" And the guy goes, "What? You're not allowed to have guns in the casino?" And the older guy hits the stop button. The door's open. He grabs the kid, pulls him off, mean mugs me, shuts the door, lets the door shut. And I said to Zach, "What was that?" He goes, "We're not worth the squeeze." And I'm like, "You're not allowed to carry a gun in the casinos?" He goes, "No, I said, "Well, they should put up signs." And he turns and points, and we just happen to be going by this big ass sign that's like 4 foot tall, like 8 feet wide, and it says "No firearms in the casino." I'm like, "Oh, I should probably pay more attention when I'm wandering around here in Las Vegas for it. I might go to jail." So yeah, it's very comfortable, but also I'm very careless. I don't really
Yeah,
know
I
the
hear you, man.
rules,
I
man.
hear
Like,
you.
I know what the rules is mostly in Florida where I live. Like, I know how to live and not go to prison. But like, there's some other places I just don't go seeking out what the rules are. I know I should. It'd probably be more healthier for my freedom. But like, I just don't do stuff that gets me in trouble, man. Like, I don't go stupid places with. Well,
That's generally that's a good rule. That's a good rule to have. You know, it, something that you can say. It's in the category of it makes fucking sense, right? So that's the thing. Listen, I
I
have a
have an
question
answer.
for you, right? And we haven't discussed that, but I have a question because I want to hear your view, because my view is
Okay.
unpopular. All right. For concealed carry, everyday citizen. I'm not talking any kind of
Mhm.
professional, tactical guru and
Right.
operator and all
Standard
that
citizen.
stuff. Uh, yeah, standard citizen. A lot of people, they see me teach classes and they go like, "Don't you have like at least one SOE belt?" I'm like, as a matter of fact, I
Yeah.
have like five of them. They go like, "Why you don't wear one?" I'm like, "Because for concealed carry, the way I prefer to work with my gun, if I need to access it and present it, the stiffness
It
of
can
gun
work
belts
against you.
prevents my access to that front part
Yep.
of the pistol grip. I do want a flexible belt." And people will say, "Well, but it doesn't give enough stabilization for your holster and all that." And I'm like, you know what? If your physical capabilities are such that you have problem unlocking that thing from retention in your holster, first of all, you should probably experiment with that retention, how it feels when it's
You're
in your
not doing your
hands, right?
dry fire every day,
Second of all,
obviously.
yeah. Second part, you should probably do some push-ups and shit like that to be able to draw that gun out, even if it's stiff within its
Or you may have to
retention,
do a
right?
push
If
up
it's
to get off the
overdone.
ground to clear your gun one handed.
Right, right. So, what is your view, if you
I,
have any
I do.
opinions or whatnot, whether it's,
I have several opinions, and the first thing I'm going to say is it all depends, right? It depends on you can carry in the same place for muscle memory a bunch of different ways, right? You could have on basketball shorts and an ulti clip with no belt whatsoever, right? And as long as it's in the same
yeah,
place you train for, I carry appendix just to the right of the junculus, and that's just what works for me. But I carry an Enigma, the Filster Enigma, the fanny pack without a
Yeah,
fanny pack thing, with one of my holsters screwed to
yeah,
the back of it, and it works fantastic. I use that when I'm wearing, like, look, man, if I get up to go out of my bedroom and I'm wearing my underwear because I got to pee or the chickens are making some kind of ruckus and I might have to smoke some kind of varmint with the Ruger 1022, I'll just throw that thing on and cinch it down, and I'll go out in underwear, and I still got my pistol. If it's a bear and I got to throw the 22 down and
yeah,
go to work with see if Pete's Defiant lives up to its name for bear, um, I got some shit I want to try. But yeah, I'll use the Enigma rig. If I'm going out,
yeah,
here's the thing about the SOE belt that I love about the SOE belt, and it's also the reason that I don't use it more than I would. Is the same thing you're talking about, is flexibility. The SOE gun belt, from my understanding, is designed around being stiff for a 3 o'clock OWB carry to stabilize your belt
yes,
so that your belt doesn't try to move as you're trying to execute your draw stroke. The belt doesn't pull up between the belt loops, if this is your anchor point, and do goofy shit. Whereas when
yeah,
you're carrying appendix, that's not really what you, one, it's not what you need, because what you need when you're carrying appendix is a belt that is on loose enough that if your gum wasn't on there, your pants would fall down around your ankles. You don't want your belt cinched up tight and restricting your movement, because a lot of the cool things about appendix is access and the ability to guard access while you're fighting. Like, I have a little bit of a belly.
yep,
I can, if I'm carrying an appendix and a Burkett or an Enigma or an Ulti Clip, whatever, I can hunch over in the pugilistic stance and get my belly and my abdomen down over the top of the gun. And I don't give a shit if you get your hand all the way around it. You're going to have to rip it through my belly meat. And you just tied up one of your hands, and I got all kinds of cool plans for that gig. So what I'm saying is, it's
yeah.
dependent upon what you're doing, and basically like what you're doing, right? So
So that's the interesting point where, like, and I just want to clarify it for our, for our listeners here, is that, when you guys listen, like John Willis and Amanda, they dear
love them.
friends of mine. I go visit with them. They do make the best damn nylon gear in the industry.
100%. I'm
Period.
surrounded by it. I got bags and chest
And
bags
if you want
everywhere.
to, if you want to argue with me, you are
Yeah, I got a
fucking wrong.
duffel bag you can
Okay,
stand in. I'll
try
hold
it
you up in
out.
this duffel bag as long as you want to stand in it.
Yeah, I know. I have gear that I've gotten from John first time I met John, and
Yep.
used daily. Like, my backpacks are with me daily. You know what I mean? And I'm talking years, five,
I got a
six, 7
10-year-old tool
years
bag that's
daily.
been through a war,
Heavy
but it
use, like,
still holds all my shit, and there ain't a stitch out of place. And it's been through 3
yeah,
steel mills and my whole life. It's been a range bag. It's been a med bag. It's a tool bag right now in the back of my car, and it still looks brand new.
yeah. But here's the point that I'm trying to make, is that for some people that gear, became, and again, I fully appreciate and I completely appreciate people being supportive of SOE or any other company that they support, right? But it became almost like a brand, lifestyle stuff. It's not adjusted for their daily specificities of what they do, how they carry, where they carry, why they carry, right? It's more like, I need to rock that brand because I'm loyal and all that. You know what I mean? I don't think John would have a problem, right? That you ordered 6 of his belts and all that stuff, but now because you're carrying appendix and stiffness of that belt prevents you having quicker, more efficient draw stroke, John would go like, "You cheating? You're not
Yeah, he
rocking
doesn't
SOE
give a
gear."
shit. Like
No,
his gear is
no,
bomb proof,
no.
and if you use it for the purpose it's intended, there is no finer nylon gear. I tell people all the time, they're wanting me to make them like weird Kydex stuff, like a Leatherman wave
Yeah.
holder, a holster for my insulin pump, a holster for my Gigaw little super deluxe secret squirrel fucking blip blip radio thing. I'm like, no, nylon makes so much more sense for that.
Have
Like,
you ever been
most of
asked
my
to make a
mag carriers
holster
are
for
nylon.
a dil- Have you ever been asked to make a holster for a dildo?
Yep, did.
You made it?
Fuck yeah, $100 a piece on a crazy quote. It was for a bachelorette party, and they wanted them custom printed Dick Kydex.
Why the
So
fuck I don't have? Why the fuck I don't have pictures of that?
There's some stuff I do that I don't take pictures of, bro. Listen, the
Okay,
root word of custom, we're a custom shop, okay? And I
right.
think people need to understand this. The root word of custom is customer, okay? So if you want a holster that you know is going to work and I know is going to work, you order one of my Alphas, one of my Indias, one of my Burkutts, you order a model of holster. I have worked that out. It works perfectly for 99.9999% of the planet, and we're not going to have any issues. However, if you want me to build you a double small in the back 1911 like Deadpool, listen, I've done that shit. I'm just not proud of it. Okay? I'll
Got
take
you.
your money and I'll build you the weirdest shit you want. I mean, like, we have customers we've built for South and Central American military. We've built for European military. I'm sure from some of the places we've sent stuff we built for the Mexican cartels. I know for a fat man's ass that we built for some Bulgarian mafia. I know for a fat man's ass we built for the Japanese Yakuza. Because, like, I straight up saw some of my shit in some fucking police pictures, okay? Like, we've made shit on both sides of I've seen my gear on Russian dudes, FSB guys. I've seen my shit on people standing there in the port of Odessa. Like, I I don't care, okay? I want to build you the best gear for what you want to do. I don't want to make a lot of money. I'm living in the middle of a fucking swamp. Everything I own is paid for. I don't have any monthly payments. I don't have a big nut to make. I'm not going to be out there slinging goofy ass shit that just looks awesome. Like, oh yeah, here's a Glassmaster whack thing. No, I don't
Yeah.
care. I got one part-time employee, John Thornton, and he keeps the ship running. And I'm free to do crazy engineering weirdness and all that. And we have enough business that we don't want to build gear for all the people at Gunsight that are standing on the line, okay? I don't want to build a bunch of stuff for dudes that are standing on a range in Miami showing each other their Gold Desert Eagles. I've built holsters for Gold Desert Eagles. I ain't down on it. I'm just saying the people I like building gun gear for is people that carry guns every day, and they know the difference between good shit and bad shit, and they come to us for the good shit. I don't advertise. I don't pay a penny in advertising to anybody, to my detriment. But I don't want to be buried under 644 orders again. When you and Megan came and visited and we did her Lionheart here in person, at
Yeah.
that point I was behind 640 something orders.
Yeah.
We keep it zeroed out now, bro. Like, there's one order in queue, and that's because we just had to order Kydex because he wanted something whack weird, and we're down for it, but we ain't gonna make it today. It'll be Tuesday. Sorry, we have to order stuff to mail.
Yeah.
Teleportation's not in yet. Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Somebody work that shit out. I'll build the mechanism because that's
Right.
my superpower.
One
I
of
can't
the
identify problems that aren't in my experience. So it's fun for me to get like your ideas, and like I like working with other people. Like, I'm bored as hell. I'm surrounded by 3D printers and big machines and stuff out here, but I've solved all my problems. Like, I didn't know I had a problem. Look here. Where's my? Yeah. I didn't know I had a problem. I wanted to ride with the brand for James Yeager, right? So I ordered me one of these brand new Tactician flashlights. The only problem with the Tactician flashlight is it's fucking retarded. It only comes with a
Yes.
clip that lets you carry with the butt end down in your pocket. And that's not the way I carry a flashlight, dog. Like, these mitts have been like trained from my young age to use a Surefire 6P by reaching in my pocket, grabbing that motherfucker up, and turning on the big bright button, right? So I
Yeah.
had to make a clip that would go on a Tactician to make it go down in my pocket the direction I wanted it to. So
Yeah.
I've solved all my problems. I identify a problem, I fix a problem. Next problem. The problem is I fixed all my problems in my environment. My environment is fixed. Like, it's good. Like, I got all my shit worked out. I got solar panels. Like, we're coming to you live from the miracle of Elon's Starlink right now. Like, I got Skynet on command here, bro. But I get bored and I don't have any new ideas because I don't have any problems to solve because I've solved all mine.
Got it.
So, like,
So one
you
of the listeners
and
has a question, Chris. What holster do you recommend? I carry at 4 o'clock with belt loops, Jaeger Special.
In India, carry one of our Indians.
In,
It'll look remarkably similar to this. All right, it's not going to be super sexy, but like, this is what the shape you want. You want it to, like, you want the car to go up the hill, and then come around the switchback, and then he makes the noise on the Price is Right. And then he either goes off the end here, or if he's smart, he rolls around the corner here. The
And then
important
it
part
sounds
is
and then it sounds like this.
you found the exact noise my brain makes when I'm flipping through the Rolodex, and the Rolodex
That's
won't stop.
that's what it looks like, Chris. This is something that kids were playing with in our church for Pascha, for Easter. So I stole like 3 of these for my 2.5-year-old
Don't
daughter.
stretch it yet. Don't stretch it yet. Don't stretch it yet. Don't stretch it yet. Is it hollow? Does it have a whistle on one end?
No.
Okay, I want you to make this noise into it and then stretch it out, and we can hear the wavelength stretch.
Listen up. Hold on.
The Doppler effect, physically.
There you go. I'm sure that was entertaining for
Oh, I
our
fucking loved
viewers.
it, bro.
You're welcome. All right. So for Jose, so that's the question.
Yeah, carry.
Is the to answer your
Yeah,
question is
and listen,
India.
my holster naming conventions are not terribly complex. Let me decode them for you. Alpha, it's an AIWB. India, it's an inside the waistband. India, IWV, I. So that's how I name my stuff. It's not super complicated, just the phonetic for whatever the first letter of the type is.
Except Berkut, which was
Right, it
my
came
name
from
that I
me
gave.
named as a
So
golden Russian eagle, and I'm cool with that, man. I was like, I didn't know what it was.
right.
I was like, Birkin. Well, we Birkin that. Birkin, that's one of the things. That's a Merkin. I'm sorry, that's the little thing they put on the front there. I don't know, but yeah, I mean that was quite a wild ride for me too, because I'd never considered the way you, if you're gonna draw straight, you hunch your whole shoulder up. You watch anybody drawing out of an appendix rig, they're gonna clue you in by bringing their draw hand out shoulder up to their ear, right?
Yep.
But when you're drawn in the reverse cant, your shoulder stays level through the whole draw stroke, and you don't give off any physical
Yep.
signs. And to this day, that still blows my mind that I never really was able to articulate that.
Yeah, so Sam Russell makes a comment here. He goes, I carry dual appendix with 2 Berkuts, and I know that Tom Hollaby carries the same way. And
I would like to give.
so yeah,
I would like to give a word of caution.
there's more than one person
I need to give a
who
word of caution.
yeah.
I carry a Glock 35 that's had the grip cut down for 27 mags. And I was able to borrow a full size 35, and just for funsies, just to like being a guy, I put them on in a gun store. And the barrels of both stuck out about that far out of the bottom of the Berkut. I had a left-handed and a right-handed on. I sat down, and those two excess big dot sights grabbed the
They kiss.
head, and left a blood blister purple mark that took like 6 months to go away. So I just want to say, if you're carrying dual appendix, gingerly sit down. Don't be flopping down in a car seat in an Audi like you're somebody, because your booty will jump up off that thing when the squeeze comes on. So just be cautious when you're doing
Yeah.
that. You can do a wheel.
Yeah, from what I know about those guys, because they do come to my classes, I don't think that they carry the Glock 34s or anything of that length. So they usually carry like
Because I'm
normal
retarded,
stuff.
I know.
So that's not gonna be a
No.
danger. So
See,
that's
in
that.
my head, there's a movie in the '80s called Johnny Dangerously. I don't know if you've ever seen it, and it starred
I
Joe
haven't.
Piscopo and the guy from Sleepless in Seattle. Anyway, it was all A-list actors, right? But it was set as a 20s mobster gangster movie. And the head the main character was a guy named Johnny Dangerously, right? Well, there was like a villain or a heel character in there, and I don't remember, his name was Radicus or something. But he reaches in his pants and pulls a pistol out, and the barrel's like 4 feet long. He pulls it out of his pants, and it goes up past his shoulder, and he holds it out. He goes, "It's an '88 Magnum. It shoots through schools." So whenever I drag a 35 out of my pants, that's the line that runs in my head. And I know it's not healthy in today's day and age, but they actually made a movie and used that line back in the fucking '80s. It was awesome.
There you
Johnny
go.
Dangerously. If you
There you
haven't
go.
seen Johnny Dangerously, you owe it to yourself to watch it. It's just hilarious. I mean, it's mob stuff.
Yeah, I owe it to myself. I'm like 16 books behind that I need to read, plus three that I'm writing, plus another 62 projects right here on my property, and then
I can't
family,
I
kids,
can't
and
write, bro. I've
yeah,
got
all of
5
them.
books going right now. I'm reading 2 physics papers. One's in Chinese, so I'm having to use Google Translate. And as you can imagine, that's not going well. Um, I'm halfway through a podcast that I was watching, and I'm like Zach Hall here. I've got 2 TVs
Yeah,
with easily 25 tabs open on each one right now. And I've got a screen that's not even turned on, and there's probably tabs open on it too, but I can't see them from here, so they don't confront me. So it's going to be fun.
got it.
Um,
Got it. Well, we have been on for almost an hour and a half. So obviously, I had this little thing right
yes,
here, greenforcetactical.com.
.com.
Uh,
That was not as fun.
there is there is no big delays now if you
Oh no,
place
we
your
can have it right
orders.
out,
Uh,
right out.
so you're gonna get them quickly. Uh, and again, it's not because Christian is my friend and because he makes my holsters. I chose him and his company because of the thought, the depth of knowledge that goes into engineering, and the attention to detail and passion for what he does. That those were my parameters. Those were my metrics that
Can I
mattered
can
to
I
me.
can I tell a
And
30-second version of my side of that us meeting story?
sure,
So
go for it.
I got suckered into teaching a holster class. Okay, I got called like 3 days before alumni, and it was, I want to say it was Heather. It was one of the girls called up and said, "Hey, Chris, we've got an opening for an instructor. Can you do like an hour-long class on holsters for alumni?" And I'm like, "Yes, I can." So we roll up there, and I get there. I'm like, I'm all excited. I'm signed in, and I'm like, where am I teaching? Like, where am I on the thing? And they say, "Oh, you're at the range." I'm like, "I'm at the what?" And this is July in Tennessee.
Yeah,
It's real hot, right? So I go to the range, and I didn't realize I was going to have to do a class, an hour-long class, 4 times in a row, followed by a lunch break, followed by 4 more hour-long classes. So when someone walked up, he
yep,
was coming to the third of my second half of the day where I was so dehydrated, I was
yes.
delirious. And then I had the bright eye. I'd been suckered into this. Well, I suckered into it. I volunteered to shoot a World War II flamethrower, like the whole backpack full of napalm and burn ward one, not like the new ones that just go like, pity, 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 pity. No, this one had been to fucking somewhere in Japan and burned people up. And some company restored it and brought it down there, but they didn't have none of them had the guts to shoot it. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll shoot it, right? So I agreed like a week ahead of time to be the crash test dummy for this thing and light the SOE fire. So I went and borrowed one of them firefighting suits that you wear at the airport, the exposure crinkly, like the Jiffy Pop suit with the visor, and put it in my car and brought it
Yeah,
up there with me. But I was so dehydrated when I left the range, I was like, nah, that'll be hot. So I shot a flamethrower in shorts and Crocs. And I didn't know if I was going to bonfire. I
I
didn't want to be
remember.
known as
I
that
was
guy.
there.
So I just kept walking towards the fire until the flamethrower ran out of fire. I was way too close to the fire. I burned all the hair off my legs and stuff. So anyway, that was my side of meeting Sonny the first time. He was just a wild ass interlude and a wild ass day that ended in fire and me losing all my leg hair. It ain't grown back yet. It's been a decade.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
a
and
good
now that
weekend.
Zach's dead,
That
I
was
can
a
tell
good
this
weekend.
story. Zach and I discussed it prior to me going to use the flamethrower, and I told him, I said, if this goes bad wrong, you just machine gun me over there into a pile of burning rags. So I don't want to go to the burn board and smell like hot dogs. So he literally loaded up a belt of
Yeah,
like the good stuff into the saw, set the saw up over there off to the side, off to my right,
in
and
case you
Joe
catch on
Rogan kept
fire.
everybody out of the way. Like if it had to go down, like there was a clear field of fire, and that was the only thing that kept me happy. Is like, well, if I burn, I won't burn long. But it was all right, I guess. So nobody died, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a fun
yeah, it
time.
was
Fun
good.
time. Yeah. In retrospect, it was one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever done. I mean, it's right up there with skydiving and like talking to women with red hair. Like, dangerous. shit.
All right. So one of the other stories I want to tell our listeners is so this guy right here, Christian Green, comes and joins my murder spoon class in
To
Camden,
be fair,
Tennessee.
we bullied you for 2
And
years till you had that class.
yeah, and I really
We
didn't want
know,
to
but
do it. I'm
that
like,
was that's literally one of the best times I've ever had in a class.
well, here's why. Here's one of the reasons why. So guess who Christian Green pairs up as his partner in
The
working?
giant.
Yeah, not just the giant in as far as his size and all that stuff, right?
Accomplished.
And it was, yeah, it was the guy behind Occam
Brian.
Defense, Brian
The
Keating,
most muscular
right?
scientist I've ever
So
met.
yeah, so I'm you know I'm teaching the class. I'm explaining some biomechanics of how to use the handling and then how to cut the throat and then and all that stuff. These two guys, with a combined fucking IQ of 300, between the two of them, I'm listening to them talking, and I'm going like, I just want to cut both of their
Because we
throats
were figuring
because
stuff
this
out. We
is
were looking, was a 90 here.
they were figuring out. They were not figuring out fighting geometry. They were going into like fucking space
We were
trigonometry and
doing it real slow so we didn't hurt each
with
other.
the
We were like doing this like Tai Chi speed type
yeah
thing.
yeah with the obscurities of fucking the aerodynamics and I'm like, both of you just shut up and smack each other already with this.
And we did.
So that was
And then we did.
that was pretty unique. That was pretty unique moment for me as a teaching violence and having these two fuckers,
I got bonged on the
just
elbow. Like I got bonged right here on the elbow, and it made my I had like electric fingers for like 2 weeks. And I have to tell you that when it went away, I was sad.
yeah
Oh,
yeah I hear
it's
you.
like the last of the spots healing up from a good force on force class, or the bruises for like a spontaneous knife defense class where you got all the trainer bruises. You're like, this sucks, and then you're
Yeah
home. You're like, oh, that one's almost gone. Shit, stick around, little buddy. Let me poke on you a little more.
yeah you
Yeah,
almost
well,
miss
you
it.
want to go away because
All
it's like
right,
starting to cool, right?
listen guys,
Let's go.
greenforcetactical.com. This is where you
And
go.
we will be happy to take
This is
care of
where
you.
you go
And don't get
and
too weird for us.
you order the best damn holsters in the business, and not just holsters. Christian sometimes works on some crazy shit. Uh, there were few years there that he was offering small runs of his space swords made
I
out
got
of
one.
crazy
Hold on, the
materials.
safe's open. Let
I'm
me
sure
grab
you
one.
do. Sure. And Christian is involved working with few companies because of his engineering acuity and all that stuff.
So
So that's the space sword that we're talking about.
So this, I wanted to
And
make myself a space sword. Okay, I figured out how to get tungsten carbide to bond to titanium using electricity under a sulfuric acid bath. So that's tungsten carbide on the back there, right? And it's not going to come off. You can bend this thing as much as you want. It's not coming off. And then we sharpen into it. So I figured that out, and I'm like, I'm gonna make me a sword. Keywords: me, a sword. So I made one, and then I fucked up and I showed it on the interwebs. And then I had to make a bunch of them. So I made a bunch of them. These that are the length I wanted for me, so that when I carry it, it'll stick out past my elbow, so I can like walk through a crowd. When I stand up, it doesn't hit the ground. This is the sword I wanted for me. And if you look at it, okay, it's all titanium, even the screws, even the handles, even the handguard, it's all titanium, right? But this is a truss. This top bar that runs along the top here, this has fuck all to do with the sword. This is the sword. This is a truss bar that transfers all the energy from the sweet spot of the sword down both directions. So like it's all sciencey, right? That's what I wanted. I wanted it for me. I made a carbon fiber sheath. It's all dope. And then I had to start making it for people and became a total fucking pain in the ass. It was hard to ship those things, man. And I had this nightmare that one of the big mail machines would grab one and like sling it, and the sword would come out and like pin an employee to the wall. And it bothered me. So then I started making small, right? So then I started making 18-inch long ones. So these are little washashikis, And they're the same technology, tungsten carbide on the back and then sharpened on the front. But then, of course, Mike Taylor's, and he's got all the fucking lasers and stuff. So, of course, it got lasered to the end of the planet. But anyway, so yeah, I make those sometimes when I get bored, and I need to make some more. But I really, it's 12 days of my life for 16-hour days to make a run of those things, and then I sell them for a year, and then I hate myself for having to go back and make more of them. But I love myself when I just have to go to shows and sell them. But what else do I got on the table? I've always got weird shit laying around. Oh, here's a carabiner that I made. It's an all titanium carabiner. And the clever part about it is the spring. This leg is longer than this leg. And if you look at the holes are offset so that it builds the spring is these two legs being at dissimilar heights like this. So there's no real spring. The legs of this titanium thingy bobble is the spring. So, and then Mike.
See, guys, that's what I'm saying. When you're talking to Christian Green, it's like you do need to have either aspirin or something for your headache,
Alcohol.
because
I don't
it's
drink. But alcohol works.
yeah, or it's like it's kind of similar like coming to my class and I start talking to you about 3 different levels of striking with double vectors and all that, and then it becomes a little bit more than a headache because other parts of your body will also hurt. But with Christian, when you're talking engineering things, it's like, all right, be prepared to have your brain swell happening, and
Tell
that's
me
the
the
thing.
details of you coming back to teaching Systema. That's one of the things we touched on in the early thing. That, as a spectator, as somebody who really has no interest in being twisted up like a pretzel or being beaten unconscious or choked out or anything, because I'm old and I'm gonna be real with you. I don't like to hurt. But I'm very excited that has become a thing again. Like the availability of somebody teaching Systema from the first round, not diluted through 300,000 people that are teaching it in fucking strip malls and after school dojos and shit. To actually have a real legit willing instructor who knows what the fuck they're talking about and didn't learn everything 15th hand, I think is very exciting, and I'm really happy that you're doing it. Almost as happy as I was when we did the double class.
Yeah.
Because that was awesome.
Yeah. So what happened was, I was out of touch. We have not communicated with my teacher Vladimir for about
Wow.
12 years, and last week Vladimir reached out and we spoke. We had a long conversation, and he kind of encouraged me and to start doing Systema classes again. What I teach is Systema. I just didn't call Systema
For
because of
reasons.
things that have transpired in the past. That the reasons, причинам, yes. And
Propertino.
so
Propitino.
now things kind of happened. People say, like things happen for a reason. One of my newer students here in East Texas, he lives about 20 minutes from here in Henderson, Texas, and he has this amazing building that he bought and restored. It was like a
Right.
drug house, 6,000 square feet, and so now it's air conditioned. It's all restored inside. It's a easy location, good
Good
parking, and all
venue.
that. And he's a serious guy with very serious pedigree and background and all that stuff with government work and other things that we will not
We have so many
talk
friends
about.
that we just can't explain
And
to our other friends.
yes, and so basically he offered me to use that facility to teach
Awesome.
classes, and then Vladimir called me,
Oh,
and
so it's like the two things like
so
lined
that's
up.
how.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it all happened. It all happened within
Awesome.
1 week. It all happened within the same week. So starting here at the end of the month, May, I believe we're gonna start. Relatively slow. We're gonna do Saturdays, like a 6-hour workshops, one Saturday a
Good.
month, and then every 3 months or so we'll do like a full weekend, Saturday, Sunday kind of seminars on very specific topic, going in depth. So those things I just had my website guy posted to the website
Awesome.
yesterday, last night, and they can be accessed. You can find it on my social media. You can go to my website, sonnypuzikas.com, and go to my web store. You'll find the way to sign up for those classes. But yeah, I'm excited to do it. it's really not something that I have gotten away from doing in my seminars and
This is
classes
just a more
right now. But
organized. This.
reconnecting with Vladimir, it's not just that, because it's kind of like under, the way I see it, it's under the eye, under
Auspice.
the overview of
Right.
flat,
It's like a blessing.
which to me, from
Yeah. It's
all,
like
it's not just, it's more than that. It's more than that, Christian. It's to me, Vlad, bar none. Other people that I have trained throughout my life, that were my instructors, that were instrumental in what I have become over decades. Vladimir has been the hands down, bar none, the most influential dude in my evolution, so to speak. So with him telling me that I should start doing this again, and he offered to put it on his
that's awesome,
websites and
dude.
all that, that's something
That's awesome.
we'll look at it in the future when the time comes. But for now, so yeah, for those of you in East Texas, or Louisiana, or nearby, or Dallas or Houston, a couple hours away or whatnot, once a month, for Saturday, it's not such a big deal. Uh, Drive up those 2.5 hours, train for 6 hours, and then each Saturday that I'm going to be doing that, I'm also going to be offering, because we're going to train from 9 to 2,
Hmm.
I believe, and then from 2 to 4, I will be offering 2 hours of private classes for those who are
Awesome.
interested on whatever topic within that realm
What
people
one of
choose.
my
So,
pieces of software just reminded me of something, and I figured I'd remind your viewers and you. Tonight is the peak of the meteor shower, the Leonid's meteor shower that happens every year. Um, Not to give you nightmare fuel, but that group of rocks and asteroids that are flying around the sun crosses our orbit. So we're running into this pile of rocks from behind, like a runaway car running from the cops driving through a construction zone.
uh-huh.
So the dinosaur killer that came into the Yucatan came out of this meteor shower. So just know that there's nobody tracking what we're running into this meteor shower. There's not any like sky watch where they're looking for comets, or they're looking for things coming from out of the solar system. Nobody's got like a radar facing forward off the planet looking for a dinosaur killer. So while you're out there tonight watching the meteor shower, just know that any one of those could just continue to grow and smash into the planet and in civilization. And nobody's looking for it.
Exciting.
I go out and watch rocket launches every night. Every time they have a rocket launch, which is like every night for SpaceX, I go out in my front yard and watch it, and it's awesome. And I remind myself every time that we're currently a spacefaring country, but at any time one of those meteors could just come wipe all that shit out. Or the sun could do the whole like life cycle of an AI, like where people are like slaving under the sun, and they build a pyramid, and then they build a computer, and then they build a quantum computer, and then they build an AI, and the AI enslaves them, and then the sun comes and wipes out the AI, and they're back to worshiping the sun god. It's a big circle.
All right, man. Listen, I
Yeah.
appreciate
Thanks
your
for having
time. I
me on, dude.
appreciate you coming on. One more time, guys and girls,
.com.
greenforcetactical.com is where you go. That's where you go, and
We,
you find the best damn Kydex gear, period, and not just Kydex.
we will take care of you.
Uh, Look up what other things that
I
Chris
make gadgets.
offers, and you know, I I uh, I cannot recommend Greenforce Tactical
Thank
holsters
you.
enough. Most of my students carry in Greenforce Tactical holsters, majority in Berkuts, but not
Whenever you
only.
have a class, we sell like
And
5 or 6 as soon as your class is out. Whoever didn't have one usually goes and buys one, or
yeah.
somebody that has one, they buy another one.
Well, usually the way it works, man, people come in, whatever holsters they carry, We the People or Tier 1
Whatever.
or, you know. Anyway, we're not going
I
to talk
never
crap about
badmouth another
anybody else.
holster maker. I'll
But
badmouth their techniques, but
no,
I won't name them.
yeah. And so it's kind of cool because, people go like, hey, can I try it? So I give them one of my, Berkut holsters with the gun, and and then I hear that, a week later they go like, hey man, I just got my Berkut from Green Force, and I'm like, oh, cool,
Yep.
nice.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's kind of like one of those jokes when they say, like when you go black, you cannot go back. When you go Green Force Tactical, you're not going back. That's just the way it works. One more time, greenforcetactical.com.
Yeah, we don't want to
and
make the most gear. We just want to make the best gear.
right, and Christian Green is the guy. He's the man behind the company, behind the concept, behind the idea, and behind the work. It's him and Big John doing the work.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. It's not outsourced. It's not in China, Vietnam, Thailand, or
It
freaking
happens in a little
Mars.
shed on my
It's
property that the turkeys and shit get underneath it and tear up the wiring. I mean, it ain't high tech.
it's in the swamps of Florida, and I appreciate you all being here this Tuesday evening. Again, thanks for Christian being
Thank you,
here
brother.
as well. I will see the rest of you guys next Tuesday. If everything works out, it's going to be that controversial thing where we might be talking about Semitism, anti Semitism. So it's going to be one of the special events again where we're going to be covering something not so much about training. And I promise at some point we'll get back to regular schedule again. But I wanted to have Christian on to
I
talk
want to
about
be on that
holsters.
one.
And then because,
I want
oh,
to
I'm
be on
sure you
that
do.
one. You don't want me on that
That
one,
would
but I want to be on that one.
I already know that I'm probably gonna catch jail time on that
I got a
one.
good
So
bondsman. His
hey,
name's
it
Moose.
is
He'll
what it
get you
is.
loose, bro. He's in my phone under bondsman.
Yeah, it is what it is. So we'll see how it goes next Tuesday. We didn't break any rules today. Christian pulled out some edged weapons, but those are not against policies of social media
Those are desk
platforms.
guards.
So
They're
we were
letter
good there.
openers. They're for executive desk guards, in case they got a menace marketing.
Exactly. Exactly. That is
Thank you for
exactly what
being
it
so
is.
generous with your
All right,
time. I really
everybody.
appreciate it. Thank you, all your viewers that hung in there, and I hope you learned something. If you've got any goofy questions, hit us up either greenforcetactical.com or greenforcetactical@gmail, or just go to our website and hit a contact form. You trust me, whatever question you have is not going to be the dumbest question that we've got to answer that day. So just hit us with it. If we can help you in any way, we'll be happy to work with you. If you find you can't work with us because we don't want, whatever reason it doesn't work out, no hard feelings, man. Like, we just want to make cool people.
Very cool, guys. Those of you who are watching, you heard there's a lot of very interesting, very unique, important information that most people have no freaking idea as far as holster engineering design, important things to look for, or whatnot. Share it, let people listen to it, let people learn, and that way they will have the relevant information when they choose gear to carry their, you know, depth projecting and machinery in and so forth. And for other than that, I appreciate you all being here. May God bless, and I'll see you all
Thanks,
next
Sonny. I
week.
appreciate it. Y'all have a good
Christian,
night. Remember,
peace,
wherever you
brother.
go, Hillary Clinton still a
Good
criminal
night.
belongs in prison.